Hi, everyone. Well, it's good news for democracy that the Pistorius trial will be filmed because it means that we don't favor the rich and the famous. And that's what this judgment actually means for democracy in this country. And that's one of the things I talk about, why South Africa is such a great place to be, and why, notwithstanding many of the issues and challenges that we face, this is a country to do business in. Politics is going to be a big part of this year, and many of you are going to want to talk about what it means when we re-elect Zuma again. We will re-elect Zuma again. You heard from other political speakers earlier. But I'm going to talk to you today about something different, about leadership. Nelson Mandela died last year in December. I was a personal friend. It was an incredibly sad day, and I remember I was trying to file a story for City Press. It was a few days after his death, and I hadn't processed it yet because I was filing. And then the editor phoned me and said, "Where's your piece? We need it in about half an hour." And I was just sobbing because the reality hit that this man who had been such a defining part of my own career was no longer with us. And of course, the next question was, how do we preserve his legacy? And everyone's claiming his legacy. Well, let me tell you how you can preserve that legacy. I want you to cast your minds back to 1994, pre our first democratic election. Nelson Mandela is deeply, deeply concerned. We have an election coming up, but not everyone is participating. You have the Inkatha Freedom Front who are fighting a war with the ANC in the townships, dubbed black on black violence, and you have the white right wing developing these little Afrikaner Boer cells around the country. And the idea behind that is that they would try and foment revolution should, shock horror, a black government take over this land. And we don't remember that we could have been on the brink of civil war at the time because things are so different now. But then it was very, very precarious. And at that point, Constant Viljoen, who'd been a general in the apartheid regime, was leading this movement, going around the country recruiting right-wing Afrikaners for his cause. Nelson Mandela needed to reach out to him. It was important that this small, albeit a minority, participated in this first democratic election. So he reaches out through his friends and invites the general for tea. And the general walks in expecting to see, a terrorist in chief. He walks in and sees a smiling, charming, avuncular old man. And Mandela says to Viljoen, "General, sit down. How do you take your tea?" And he says, "Well, 1 sugar, a little bit of milk." Hadn't quite got over that sugar addiction. And the two men, who are of a similar generation, old-fashioned Victorian values in many ways, sit and discuss the world. And Nelson Mandela, who is a seducer and a charmer, through a combination of logic and reason and an ability to sort of reach out to someone on a human level, to appeal to his humanness, eventually manages, to the astonishment of the international community and the media, to convince him to participate in the election. And of course, it's history. Nelson Mandela was elected our first black president of a free South Africa. And on that first day in Parliament, when all the parties are there, Viljoen's party garnered, I think, 1 or 2 seats, not many. He's in Parliament, this fierce, racist, right-wing Afrikaner. Mandela walks into Parliament, he sees Viljoen there, and he goes over to his old friend and says, "Oh, General, I'm so glad you are here today." "And what did the General say?" I asked him. "What did you say, General, when Mandela said that to you?" He said, "Debora, I said nothing. I am a military man. I stood to attention because this was my president." That is the power of leadership. I am so tired of reading all these books. I just read the book about the success of Apple and Steve Jobs, about men and women who run companies and I'm trying to think of a polite word. I was trying to think of it when I was sitting down and I can't. but really run their companies as if they are narcissistic, dominating tools for them to enjoy. That kind of leadership has no place anymore, not just in South Africa, but around the globe. We have the greatest icon this world has probably ever seen, who was in our midst. Lessons in leadership that we can learn from Nelson Mandela. And to call him a saint is to diminish his power, because he was no saint. He was a deeply flawed human man with many weaknesses, and that is his greatness. Because if he can do it, it means we can do it. And that is how you preserve Nelson Mandela's legacy. That is what I talk about. Leadership lessons from Nelson Mandela, and how to build teams that are inclusive. How to turn captors into comrades. Thank you.